It's the late 1930s. Americans can build anything, and the bigger the better. In Tacoma, Washington, workers are constructing the third largest suspension bridge in the world, spanning the Tacoma Narrows, a saltwater channel over a mile wide. What workers don't know is that they're building toward one of the worst bridge disasters in history. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge opened July 1st, 1940. Just 4 months later, on November 7th, catastrophe. It's incredible that what you're looking at is solid concrete and steel twisting and stretching like a rubber band. The car on the bridge is abandoned except for a terrified Cocker Spaniel inside. A rather courageous bridge engineer by the name of Farquharson set out to rescue the dog.
They talk about cool cats, that Farquharson was. He was out at the car and had opened the door of the car and the dog had bitten him. The dog would not come out of the car. He couldn't get the dog out. So he slammed the door shut and had considerable trouble getting back to where the two of us were standing under the tower.
But it wasn't courage alone that caused Farquharson to risk his life on the undulating bridge that fateful day.
So when Farquharson came back, I said, let's get the heck out of here, Farquharson, because this thing's going to fall down. And he said, oh, no. He said, we twisted her worse than this, putting her up. And I think that he got the word up out of his mouth, and the thing blew up. Actually, it fell down.
Farquharson's belief in the bridge is even more ironic, since Gallopin' Gertie, as she's come to be known, was doomed from the start.
When they built this thing as a concrete, solid concrete layer, 25-foot square. And the concrete trucks would go up and down like this. And they had some painters working on the edge of the thing, and they got seasick.
You'd go across, and you get this wavy motion, and you'd be on the crest of a wave. You'd see another car ahead of you a couple of 100 feet, and then you'd get down in the valley, and the other car would be down in the valley, too, and you wouldn't see anything. So you'd be driving across, and you'd see a car ahead of you, and then all of a sudden it would disappear.
You know, you're used to a highway as being a very stable thing. This highway or bridge, I spun around and looked, and here that highway was going up and down like this. And boy, it was a funny sensation to see a highway moving up and down like that.
Retired technical engineer Bud Berry was the sergeant in charge of toll operations on Gertie.
People coming across the bridge, some told us, if you ever take that thrill ride off the bridge, we'll quit using it. And others come across and they were actually sick, and they say, if you don't fix that thing, I'll never use it again.
Reasons for Gallopin' Gertie's short lifespan certainly aren't hard to find.
The trend was toward narrower bridges and a lighter weight and narrower. And actually, the whole problem was financing. If they'd had the money to build a better bridge, they'd have no doubt built it. But they tried to do the best they could with what they had.
Incidentally, they built the bridge on a very thin budget. And that's the reason it was a thin bridge. And that probably is the reason it went down.
And the wind funneling down the channel would flow across the bridge, and it would act on it the same as a wing flying through the air. And you'd get a low pressure on the bottom, high pressure on top, and that caused it to rise and fall.
They had built a tie down in the center that incidentally broke loose and probably caused the final disaster. I said, let's get the heck out of here, Farquharson, because this thing's going to fall down.
The Tacoma Narrows Bridge was a disaster without any doubt. On the positive side, no human lives were lost, and in at least 2 instances, the Tacoma Narrows bridge builders parlayed ill fortune into a gain. In the early 50s, the most famous suspension bridge in the world, San Francisco's Golden Gate, began to sway.
A rather unusual wind hit it, and it started into motion, and badly damaged wind shoes for the center span on the tower. And it was felt that if it lasted much longer, they'd lost the bridge.
Obviously, the Golden Gate didn't go down, and neither will the present Tacoma Narrows Bridge, all because of lessons learned from the disaster of November 7th, 1940.